I'd like you to just lay out the landscape in China as it is now, because Alibaba would be a very small player in this market, and it's something that Tencent has already been doing. Explain.
Yes, both Tencent and also Baidu with its iQIYI product are leaders really in the online video area. We've also had companies like Sohu, the portal, active in this for some time. So Alibaba is kind of late to the party, but it's growing at such a fast rate now. And also the opportunities to use video to sell things is also a big part of Alibaba's plan.
Let's talk about that. If you could sort of illuminate how this would fit into Alibaba's existing business, Gil. You know, this is an e-commerce business at heart that is searching for new revenue streams, also searching for global revenue streams. How does online video fit in?
Well, in two different ways. One is that selling media on its own. Yeah, there's two ways where this fits in Alibaba's strategy. One is that selling media is a big market in itself. Alibaba learned that from Amazon. Amazon sells a lot of media. Now it has a service that's a streaming service as well. So Alibaba's taking lessons from Amazon, just like they took lessons from Amazon in starting their cloud business. But there's another aspect that's very ambitious on Alibaba's part, and that's the multi-screen strategy. They've been able to convert almost half of their volume from desktop to mobile just in the last 2 or 3 years. But they think that there's another step here. They think the TV itself can be another screen for e-commerce. That's why they have a set-top box business. That's one of the reasons they own the movie studio. That's one of the reasons they visited Hollywood to possibly acquire more content. They think if they own the set-top box, if they own that additional screen, that could be another screen for commerce, and they are thinking that far ahead.
And in order to use this service, you have to have Alibaba's set-top box. You have to have a smart TV with Alibaba's operating system on it. Jeff, could they potentially bundle this with some of their e-commerce services like Amazon does with Amazon Prime and video on demand?
Yes, absolutely. I think that there's an absolute reason why they're trying to duplicate what's going on with Amazon. I think that it's a huge opportunity, the third largest entertainment market in the world.
Duncan, Tencent's already, Tencent and Baidu, as you said, they're already leaders in this market. Do you see Alibaba following here and in other areas more than leading?
Well, these three companies, BAT, Baidu, Alibaba, Tencent, are engaged in pretty vicious competition. Some have strengths, so for example, Tencent in mobile. Alibaba clearly dominates in e-commerce. But as we've been hearing, I think the barriers are beginning to come down between these various silos. So you will see increasingly, Alibaba's already invested. Don't forget it has a stake in China's YouTube equivalent, Youku Tudou. It has a stake, both of which it paid over $1 billion in Huasu, which is a cable TV provider, and it has Alibaba Pictures. They've even have an office now in Pasadena. I think it's closer to the better Chinese food east of there. It's not a Hollywood location anyway. So Alibaba is here to stay in the media, because media increasingly is going to be the home for commerce as well as content, and they are making big investments in that area too.
And Huasu, as I understand it, has had talks with Netflix. This is another company that is backed by Jack Ma. Gil, what about the fact that original content and licensing deals are very, very expensive? Can Alibaba really make money on this?
Well, I think that just as Netflix and Amazon streaming only acquire a certain portion of their content, the vast majority of their content, they don't actually produce it themselves, but they use the produced content in order to sell the entire streaming service. Alibaba could very well follow that path. And in fact, it does sound like if they are discussing with Netflix, that they could source some content that way as well. Again, it doesn't really matter to them. If they can have a subscription service, as long as they source some of the material or a lot of the material in an inexpensive way, they could make that profitable. And especially if it gets them towards that goal of an additional screen for e-commerce, it may end up being worthwhile.
What about censorship, Duncan? Do you think Alibaba can get around the censorship issues in dealing with the Chinese government? A show like Big Bang Theory, for example, wasn't allowed in China.
Well, the story behind Big Bang Theory is interesting. I mean, I think it was more China Central TV was actually trying to get the rights, which it did, actually, to show that, the backstory to all this is nobody's watching television. And this is a challenge to, terrestrial broadcasters, including the main one, CCTV. Sort of joking with friends, we're saying, well, House of Cards would have to be House of Cadres. But anyway, there's a lot of Chinese content even in season 2. So it is a challenge because the Chinese middle classes, the youth of China, don't watch TV. And increasingly, the Chinese government is thinking we can't just ban it. We have to figure out how to create our own types of content. So I think Jack Ma is going to be useful in that process of creating original Chinese content, as well as being a safe pair of hands from the government standpoint.